Hi, Stormy. I want to thank you for speaking with me, and I want to congratulate you on For the Love of DILFs season three.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of
They're always so
course.
much fun. I don't know how we keep doing ourselves, but this one's even better than the last one, and I didn't know if that was possible.
Oh, well, you'll have to. I have it down here, but what can you tease about what makes it better than the last?
Well, I mean, every one of these seasons is so different because you don't know what the cast is going to be. You know what I mean? So it's always up in the air as opposed to who are we going to get? How are they going to gel? How are they going to mesh? How are they going to connect?
Yeah.
What if they don't connect? You know what I mean? And I think that this time around, in the first two seasons, it was like the himbo show, for lack of a better way of putting it. I mean, which is sort of to be expected. You know, you have a younger crowd and they're partying and they're wild. And so there's no real big shocker that the himbos sort of stole the show in the first couple of seasons. Uh,
Mhm.
Without giving too much away, I will tell you that season three is the season of the Oh Daddy.
Well, one thing I noticed, I wonder if you would comment on, I think it's great. I mean, there's really an age range going on. I feel like some of the daddies are a little, maybe
More daddy-esque
more
for
s-
a
more s-
lady my
yeah,
age.
more
Um,
daddy-esque
but
than
there
usual.
was that was one of the critiques that we heard a few times in the past. But once again, I have to say that we can't control who signs up, who wants to be a
Right.
contestant.
Yeah.
So if we only have certain age groups wanting to be on the show, that's what we have to work with. But there was a more dramatic age gap, I guess, in some of these, and
Mhm.
that worked well for me. And we have a couple surprises too, of
Yeah.
course. Um, we have some people that came back, or some surprise from previous seasons.
Hmm.
And I think some of the connections were slower to get off the ground in this one, which
Yeah.
was very interesting to watch because um, it felt more authentic, I think is a good
Mm.
way of putting it.
Yeah.
Um, it was more, it was less spring break, more summer vacation.
I love that. That's where I'm at in my life. Um, would you talk a little bit more about why the more dramatic age gap worked well for you?
Um, well, I'm just speaking from my personal preferences. You know, I'm in my 40s and
Yeah.
I couldn't hang with these 20 somethings, going on I liked sitting in and overhearing some of these more um, mature conversations that
Yeah.
we're having. And part
Mhm.
of that, I think, is that the daddies were a little bit older, a little bit more mature in this season. But also, we have to address the fact that we are on the third season.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that any contestant on this show watched the previous seasons.
Hmm. Right.
Anytime you have a new show, some of the most dramatic stuff is going to happen in the first season because it's like they forget they're being filmed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think they were a little more conscious about it this time and they were a little more prepared for what was going to happen, which
Hmm.
means we had some people come in on this season that wanted a genuine connection. They were there for, the right reasons.
Hmm.
And the first time you have a new show coming out, you're always going to have a couple of people that join up just because they want to be a star and they want to make it all about them. And in this season, it wasn't all about them as a single person. It was all about the relationships, and
Yeah.
that's what I thought. That's
Yeah.
just my personal takeaway.
I love that. Well, you were there, so I trust that.
Oh yes, I was.
Um, can we talk a little bit about your big entrance in that hot car? What was that like to shoot?
So when they told me that I was going to be arriving in this sports car or whatever, I
Mhm.
was like, one, please tell me that you're not making me drive a stick in high heels.
I
And
have driven a stick in high heels, I'm just gonna say.
I haven't driven a stick since I was in like high school. So I said, either give me an automatic or get me flip flops. I
Mhm.
was very nervous about that.
Yeah.
Um, and I haven't seen the footage, but I'm assuming it looks great. We had the sunset behind us, and my husband works as a cinematography on the show, and we had the drones going and all this stuff. So hopefully, it looks as glamorous as it felt doing it.
It looks fabulous. Yeah. Yeah. And I love the footwear, I will just say.
Thank you.
Would you touch on, are there any kinds of, I guess, trends that you're seeing with some of these relationships and things that are maybe, trends that you're seeing, or either any other differences that you're seeing in kind of the way these people are identifying or kind of claiming their queerness?
Um, you know what I think? I think that they are becoming more comfortable
Yeah.
speaking their true self and coming um ex- less facade, I think. As a matter of fact, in this season we had somebody come out on the show. Someone who, yeah, I'm not giving too much away, but then we had somebody who was so comfortable that they chose this as their coming out. They had been married. I feel like they're opening up more about their past, not their past, to being open, not
Mm,
just, when they came out, how their mothers and fathers kind of reacted, but really expressing their journey and being more open about that.
yeah.
One of my favorite things about the show that's always been present is how open they are about consent and
Mm,
talking about that, but that hasn't changed. And I
yeah.
think that that's one of the things that I'm most proud about being a part of this show is I wish that the straight crowd could take away from the queer crowd is that they're just um, it's all about consent, being open, your do's, your don'ts, your STD history, your all of that stuff. And if
Yeah.
the straight crowd could just take one little note from that, we would be so much better off, I
Yeah.
believe. Um, and they talked, a lot of the daddies on the show had kids. They talked about being dads. They talked about um, what that was like for their children, how they explain those things to their children.
Yeah.
And that might just come with the fact that we talked about earlier that there was a bigger age difference. Some of the daddies were more daddy. And so when you have that many daddies, you're probably going to have more children. Now, there's no
Yeah.
kids on the show, obviously. We don't exploit children. We don't mention anybody, I don't think, by name.
Mhm.
But they were more comfortable talking about what it was like for them to have um, families and how their kids took it and how, if the couples on the show worked out, when and where, how they would be introduced to their children and what that would look like. And I think that that was a big change on the show that I personally was really interested in because I'm a parent and
Yeah.
I liked listening to some of that. Um, I guess just all the way around, if I had to pick one word to describe this season, it's maturing.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, I only got to watch one episode, but I was into it. One thing we've talked about in the past is that you kind of mention it, you talk about the silver gown that you arrive in, which is, you look incredible in it. It's a beautiful gown. But we talked about in the past that you like to wear t-shirts and ball caps. Um,
Yeah.
are, are they ever going to let you just live and kind of
No, apparently not. For a show that's all about being authentic and living your true self, they keep trying to make me more glamorous. It's
You know what? Some of us girls would like to see that other side.